Greetings, gamers everywhere. I'm Swip92, and we're talking Forsaken Realms Vahrin's Call today. And as you can see by the title of the video, yes, I did a little interview. But let's start from the beginning here, I think. As we were starting to get closer and closer to the release date of Forsaken Realms Vahrin's Call, I was thinking that an interview with the Titan Roc team, or at least one of them from the team, would be a fun thing to do, and we could also learn a thing or two about the Titan Roc team and what developing games like as a small indie team would be like. So I did ask the community manager of Titan Roc if it were possible to do an interview in some capacity. And he told me that unfortunately they did not have the time for a full interview over voice chat or over webcam and such. So yeah, this was of course very understandable from me. They have a lot on their plate and they were closing in on the release. They wanted to get everything ready. Now, however, they did offer to answer a few written questions. So I wrote some questions down and sent it. A few days later, I got my answers back, and I tell you, I was pretty happy about it. Now, again, I want to take a few seconds to say it in spoken words instead of just writing. That I really appreciated that Craig and the development team took a bit of their time from their work and answered my questions. Now, Craig is the director of the game, and he was the one who answered most of the questions, though a few questions were directed at the whole team. Now, a big thank you to all in the Titan Roc team for that. With that said, let's get to the questions and the answers. Question. The idea for Vahrin's Call came in 2014. How many people were involved at that stage? Answer. That would be just myself. It started with nothing but a sketchbook initially, where I was developing the world, lore and mechanics, and upskilling myself as much as possible, thinking I was going to be doing it entirely solo. Question. How many of those people had any experience with game development, code, 3D modeling, and any other game-related experience? Answer. I knew the basics of Unreal 3 from my time as a student, but hadn't touched it since leaving university. I was confident with art, but Unreal 4 had just been released, so there was a lot of learning to be done, that's for sure. Question. Was the game always a 3D adventure game, or did the game have any other shape? If so, maybe even a shape that we could potentially see in the future, maybe? Answer. Originally, it was supposed to be a co-op isometric base builder style RPG where you have to build your settlement and then defend it, tower defense style, against hordes of enemies. I've always been a huge fan of Gears of War Horde mode, Dynasty Warriors and tower defense style games in general. We had both co-op and horde style jobs / quests in the game at one point, but we really struggled to make it work. If we're fortunate enough to continue the Forsaken Realms and grow the team, I'd love to be able to achieve some of those big scale battle ambitions. I'm always so disappointed in RPGs when you go through these epic stories, your army is marching to war, and then you get to play and you just fight a handful of enemies. Diablo 4 did this recently and it always leaves me wanting more. Question. What was the biggest hurdle at that early stage? Answer. I think the biggest hurdle then is still the biggest hurdle now. Time and resources. Because this is our first game, things have had to be done multiple times. It could be due to lack of experience, upskilling, people leaving the team, having to work other jobs, you name it. It's incredibly difficult to manage. Thankfully though, navigating all of that has allowed us to forge a really great team. Question. Any big fears and or hopes about the project? Answer. I think they're both rolled into one really. I truly hope people enjoy what we've created. More than anything, that's the bottom line with Vahrin's Call. But realistically, there are so many good games out there and people only have so much time. I just hope with every fiber of my body that this is just the start of our journey and not the end. Question. As the years progressed and the game was starting to take form, was there ever a point where everything was starting to break apart? Answer. I'd be lying if I said there hadn't been times where you wonder if it's going to be worth it in the end. The hardest was probably back during COVID. Almost the entire team that had been working on the first version of the game all went off to pursue studio roles. In hindsight, I still don't know how we bounced back from that. Sheer stubbornness, I think. Question. As the release of the game is basically just days away, what has been the biggest problem the team had to face? Answer. I'm not sure about the entire team, but cutting co-op will forever be a day that haunts me. It's like shooting your baby out of a cannon. Next game though, for sure. Question. What was the easiest thing the team had to face? Answer. Yeah, I asked the team and the response was, I don't think game dev and easy go in the same sentence. Haha. Question. Has there been any big surprises during development, good and bad? Answer. I think we still struggle, even now, with just how long everything takes. Even something that seems incredibly simple turns into a huge can of worms. I think a general rule of thumb now is that if you think it'll take 2 minutes, it's gonna take 2 days. Question. I know the team has their day jobs as well as developing the game. Has the game development impacted your personal life in any big way? Answer. Oh, without a doubt. We worked on this game as many hours as humanly possible for a crazy long time. We've sacrificed careers, family life, holidays, mortgages. Every ounce of what we have has gone into getting Vahrin's Call over the finish line. Question. As Vahrin's Call is just a subtitle for a larger franchise, Forsaken Realms, does the team have any ideas now for a sequel, or is that something that will take shape depending on how well this title does? Answer. Yes, Vahrin's Call is just the beginning. The grand vision is to hopefully create something massive, something epic, something that people discuss with their friends and family and get excited to jump in and see what's coming next. That's not to say we want to stop people jumping in at any point and force them to go back and play the previous games. What we like to achieve is a continuous overarching narrative that brings the different stories together in a very big way. For example, meeting characters from previous games that will only remember you if you met them in a previous title. Prologues like Dragon Age Origins, or in-game questlines that are only available if you were part of the events that took place in a previous title. That kind of thing. Question. What was the main drive for the team when developing the game? Answer. When asked, the team said, just knowing people will have fun discovering things and exploring the world we are creating. Knowing that if we put in the effort, then we might be able to establish a massive continent-spanning franchise where people get goosebumps at the announcement of each new game. Question. The world is handcrafted. What was the hardest thing to model? Answer. Good question. I think we struggled with a few things from a technical standpoint. Hair, for example, is insanely difficult, especially when you're trying to use the latest tools like Groom in Unreal Engine, only to realize that after you've invested months into it, that is just never going to be optimal enough to be usable. Question. I have to ask where this hatred of garden gnomes comes from. Answer. Haha, that's quite a funny story actually. My granddad calls gnomes genomes. I was visiting him at one time and we were sat in his garden and he was telling me about how someone had given him this mooning gnome and they would now be taunting him in his garden forever. I just knew at that moment that we found our Fable-style collectible. Question. If Vahrin's Call is a success and we all wish it to be so, and the team starts working on a sequel, will you be looking for a publisher? Is that something you want, or do you want to remain an independent team? Answer: we hope to remain independent. We've spoken with quite a few publishers over the years, but it always came back to stability. Whilst we have incredibly good offers and met some lovely people, we just never felt comfortable enough signing over everything we worked so hard on. Giving up so much control of how the future plays out was always scarier than taking the risk ourselves, I guess. Question: are there any ideas floating around in the team for any DLC? Too early, I'm guessing, but I have to ask. Answer: I can't say anything yet, but we'll be talking about our roadmap after release. Question: is there a feature missing from the completed game that you wish you could have added? Answer: top of the list, without a doubt, is co-op. Secondly is localization. We really wish we could have had the game localized for everyone, but unfortunately we just don't have the financial resources to do so. This is our initial priority with any profits the game makes, though. Question: is there a feature you wish weren't in the completed game? Answer: not really a feature, but the entire team is excited to be able to restart certain aspects of the game when we move on to our next project. There are certain things, like our human skeleton, that are a nightmare to work with behind the scenes because of decisions made very early in development. Question: for the sequel, if you could wish that game into existence and have it just how you would like it, what would we see in terms of engine, basic gameplay, world and such? Keep it as short or as long as you like. Answer: co-op. Multiple uniquely distinct playable races. Customizations options for everything: character, weapons, armor, potions, so people can truly create their dream fantasy character, and more importantly, feel like it's theirs. Their weapon is what's seen them through their journey, and that they carry proudly into battle every time they play. Set in a location that's incredibly unique and memorable, with a narrative that people are still talking about for years to come. And that's all the questions I had for now. I didn't want to put too many questions into this document, as the team probably has enough on their plate right now. And they did mention that there was a possibility for a more formal interview in the future. I do hope I'll be able to do that after the game's initial release, and possibly a few updates later. Now, as a reminder, the game is released Monday, July 27th on Steam PC. Check out my previous videos on Vahrin's Call for more information on the game, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me down in the comments. Now, if you want any clarifications on the answers and questions that I just mentioned, yeah, put those in the comments as well. Now, be sure to come back to see my review on the game that is coming out in a few days. I'm being Swippy92, have a great life, and I hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye.
Potions at them. Just make sure you throw the correct potion. Don't want to accidentally make your life harder.